welcome to a WoW podcast, obviously, with your hosts Taliesin
and Evitel. Hello.
We practiced that, and that was tight. That was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Here we are.
Hey.
Yay! It is good to see you. Now, obviously, I can't really see you. That's just a turn of phrase. You can see us, though.
Oh, I
if
can
you're
see you.
watching on the YouTube. Wait, what did you say?
I can see you. I see everybody.
That's
Do you not
terrifying, and that's surely not true. I believe you can see me at every point, honestly. I do believe that. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Welcome to those in the chat, watching live. Welcome to those listening on your favorite streaming services later on. Well, I think that was the best, tightest intro we have done so far.
What do you call that? Is that the sting? Is there a proper word for that?
I guess, yeah.
I feel like a sting is more like ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Welcome to. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there has to be a musical.
That's brilliant. Can we hire someone to make one of those for us?
I just made it.
And also, can you do that every time I make like a sassy comment? You know, it's like, well, yeah, or your face.
I feel like we need a crew of like cool jazzy guys just off stage, like to the side that we pan to every now and then.
It's gone all Saturday night. I love it. That's exactly what we want. We've moved on from kind of being a last week tonight kind of show, and we've moved on to being like
just
proper,
straight up late night TV.
Yeah, proper Saturday night kind of just chat vibes. I'm properly happy with that. Yeah, let's do it. You know, new year, new start, new ideas. That's you know the channel needs a bit of a refresh. It would be good. Can I get unbanned at Twitch? Definitely not, Evil Zans. No. Did I block you because you said something bad, or because I just thought it was funny in the moment? I stand by the fact that, you know, one of the things that really confuses me when it comes to like Twitch and YouTube and Twitter and things like that is when people kind of use the fact that someone is blocking people as some kind of criticism, right? You know, this whole like, all I did was say he had ugly kids and I got blocked. I can't believe it. It's like, no, man, it's your online existence and experience. You curate it as you will, and that means liberal use of the blocking. Never a bad reason to block someone.
No, to be fair, there have been times when I've seen you block someone for just kind of putting you in a slightly bad mood.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, there is no better reason for blocking someone than because it's a bit funny in the moment. Like that's the best reason for blocking someone. Like I stand by it.
Please don't block me. I'm about to sneeze.
Are we still there? Are you still ill? Even after last week? Oh no.
I feel like it's morphed into something else now. I feel like it's a different thing because now I have a dry cough and now I have less green phlegm.
Oh,
and now
please tell us more about your bodily fluid.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. I was waiting
now
for you to ask. But it just means I'm still a bit kind of congested and odd sounding. It's moved on from like the sexy throaty thing to the nasal thing. So apologies to our listeners.
All right. Wow. Goodness me. Yeah. Well, that's good. I dare say we've copped a few blocks after that little segment talking about your chest.
Oh, I know. They're like,
I dare say we've been blocked on a few people's socials now, and rightfully so. Like, yeah, just, you know, curate your space, guys. Someone comes on your feed talking about their chest phlegm, talking about how disgusting it is.
You're like, I don't want this.
No, you get rid of that. Like, I'm at the stage on Twitter now where I will, at the very least, mute people for saying something that I even slightly don't like, even like the slightest little thing. Like, you know, I didn't enjoy. I really enjoyed that last episode of Andor, but not as much as Tally did. And it's like, well, you're on mute, mate. No more. No, we won't be hearing from you again.
Did you hear there's a second season? I think there's a second season coming.
Oh, good. Well, that's great. I loved Andor. You loved Andor too.
I actually would love, you know what it strikes me as? Like, I mean, I just loved it, but I feel like it would be a great, let's all sit down with the family over Christmas and like rewatch the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you mean your family?
Yeah,
or
with
my
family. No, not your family.
Do you think your brother would really like it?
He's already watched it and he loves it.
Oh, thank
and
goodness.
I bet it would be one of those things where we sit down
with your brother.
You never know, but I feel like it's one of the ones where we would sit down and it would be like, Mom, Dad, watch this. I'm going to make them watch Andor. They're gonna love it. I'm gonna make them watch that guy playing a piano medley of Baldur's Gate 3 themes because they're gonna love that.
That'll be as meaningful for them if they don't have the emotional investment in the theme. The themes.
Are you kidding me? That guy is like the emotions have been so heightened just by banging away on a piano in like an incredible way.
Okay.
That is something that I could show my mom, and she would be like, "This is incredible. I love this." And then that can segue into me being like, "So, what we've been up to? I spent 2 months playing this video game and tell you all, like all day, every day."
Say it was literally my job.
It's
We
literally
play
my
it
job.
for many hours a day.
Yeah.
We are in the top 10% of Baldur's Gate streamers on Twitch.
In terms of time spent
I don't know,
playing?
No,
or-
I think in terms of like I don't even know what it means, but who knows? That's what it said on our Twitch like recap or whatever.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which I read this morning.
Aw.
I'd seen people sharing them for a while, and I
Yeah.
thought today is the day I will read mine.
Check
The first time I
ours.
actually went on Twitch.
Yeah.
I realized when I went to start this stream for this podcast right now, which is a WoW podcast, by the way.
It is.
Don't worry,
Sorry, we'll get
we will
there.
get on to WoW in just a moment. And boy, oh boy, do we have some WoW to talk about. My goodness. Anyway, but let me finish this because I went on to the streaming software, OBS, and usually I have to switch it from Twitch to YouTube, but it was still on YouTube from last week. I haven't streamed on Twitch for a week.
No way.
Can you believe that?
That is crazy.
It's
actually.
wild. I hereby, for those of you who do watch our Twitch, I hereby promise right now that I will stream from now until we leave to go abroad to America every single
that
day.
Sounds good. Oh.
On Twitch, that's what I'm going to do.
Really?
Not necessarily for a very long time every day, but I
Okay,
will
but at
be
least-
touching
okay.
base every day because I think that's important.
You know
I
what?
think it's
That's
good.
a nice way to run up to Christmas and the
Yeah,
holidays.
it will be. We don't have 12 days left, but you know, it will be like the 7 days of Christmas before we go away. It'll be
7 days
nice.
of- yeah, 7 days of Christmas.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's how
good
much
to me.
time I've got to get the last video out for the
Hee.
year as well. Oh, I can't
Yay.
wait. Well, thank goodness for the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it nice? Because so you know, this always happens. What happens is we worked really hard on a Christmas special weekly reset, and we decided to pop it right into the middle of the week, which is always risky. But we thought, you know, it was always gonna be the last weekly reset of the year, and I thought, well, yeah, if we put it out on Saturday or Sunday or Monday, then you know it's got longer until the next one basically. So I thought, since it's the last one, we can hold off it. We'll put it in the middle of the week, and we get, you know, so it's newer for longer. Does that work? I don't know. But obviously the same thing happens every time that the second we got the weekly reset out, you know, news hit. Discourse happened. Things happened in the WoW wizarding world that you know, people are talking about and that have caused immense frustration and anger and things like that. Are you aware of which I speak?
I am. Can I add a third? I've just noticed in the title.
Well, I haven't said the first two yet.
Oh, no, I know, but I have a feeling those are WoW related. This one is related to the title of this podcast, which is missing an S after the word thing.
Oh, two things just happened that everyone hates. Yeah. Well, you know what? You can do the titles from now on then.
Can I?
Are you going to be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you live? Oh, live.
There you go.
Live
Save.
editing. Thank you. That means that leaves two
Yeah.
things that
Brilliant.
the world is infuriated by.
There are 400 people in the entire world who kind of understood what happened there, who were watching live and who saw that, because everyone else is just going to get the new title that's been changed.
Yeah.
You could have just gone and changed it yourself while we were talking.
No, I wanted to
And then we
do
wouldn't have had this
justice.
dead content in the
I
middle of
wanted
our
to do justice
podcast,
to
which
the
is completely valid.
400 who are here now live. Thank you
Okay,
for your
cool.
service.
Awesome. Right, good.
Right.
Oh, sorry. YouTube is telling me now would be a good time to insert ads, but that won't be happening.
No,
Don't you worry.
no.
No, YouTube. Behave. Sit down.
Excuse
That's
me,
not what
Tally,
this
get
is
back
all
on
about.
track.
So
We're
if
not
you
here to
haven't
listen to
watched the Weekly Reset Christmas special, please do. It's really good. You get a free Dream Warden tabard when you watch.
Stop it.
It's
Stop
fact.
it.
It's free.
That means I am not going to do anything that is written. I'm not going to do anything that
you
gives
get
me
it whether you
more
want it or
tablet.
not, and you get it every single time you watch it on whatever character. Please, and we'll give you another one halfway through and another one for finishing. Well done, congratulations! I'm happy for you.
Oh my god.
If ever he gets a stick to beat Tally with, is it a Tallywhacker?
Yeah. He's already got one of those.
Well, no, I think you're talking about Little Tally.
Teeny Tally.
Yeah, and if on my birthday, Evie does a bit of Taliesin.
What? Oh,
Essen
yeah,
is German
I know. Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Well,
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
joke for our German friends.
Happy birthday, Tally. It's not your birthday, is
No,
it?
like it used to be on my birthday. Now it's every like whole number birthday, every like decade birthday. So there is drama in the Taliesin Evitel household, and also in the world of Warcraft. Now, going back to my original question before you got all like grammar Nazi on me, are you aware of the drama of which I speak?
So I am aware of one of the dramas in more detail, and then you mentioned the other drama to me, and I said, "What's that one?" But instantly, I got like my little feelers went up, and I went, I can see. I don't even know what the context of that one is, but I sense the rumblings in the community. So yeah.
Do you know what? I'm like Obi-Wan Kenobi when it comes to drama in the community. I sit up in bed because I feel a disturbance. Yeah, I sit up in bed. I go, "Hello there," and I go. It's like a billion voices all cried out in terror. And then stopped, and I just know. I know to go to the forums and to see what's going on. I can sense it. It's like a talent. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today, and I did have these things ready. Here we go. And now if I skip to this one here, the first thing that we're going to be looking at is the Burden of Unrelenting Justice transmog set. Now you know all about the Burden of Unrelenting Justice transmog set, don't you, Evitel? Without getting to the drama of it, you know what it's all about, right?
Exactly. It's the one. It's the Warden set, which looks very Warden-y, which you get after 12 months of doing the trading post.
Doing the trading post, but specifically completing your traveler's log.
Yes.
Because you do the trading post every month. You do it. You buy stuff from it every month.
I do.
You pick up your free tendies.
I do.
You know, and that's fantastic. That's your thing. But you don't always complete it, do you?
No, exactly. I mean, I've been doing it in the past couple of months because there's just content. So as you do content, you finish it.
It's amazing when there's content, when there's like a patch or something. Yeah. It's amazing how quickly that traveler's log gets filled up.
It's really incredible. And I love being surprised by them. I don't even check what they are anymore to like try and get to them because I know I'm going to get them. And you get one that's like, bing, you were rezzed. I'm like, oh, I literally got progress for being rezzed. Incredible.
That is my favorite one for sure.
Yeah. Genius. So this is the set that you get for doing 12 months of your traveler's log, filling it up all of the way. My understanding is that they don't have to be 12 consecutive months.
No, it's 12 months
news.
total. Once you've clocked up your 12 months, that's it.
So my understanding, Tally, that you're on the cusp of getting this, right?
Yeah, me and everyone else who is like a real player and not some fake casual, who has been completing their traveler's log every week, will be getting this on January the 1st.
Wow.
Well, when we complete our traveler's log on January the 1st, right? So I won't be getting it for January 1st because we're still away. We're not back at work by then. And I probably won't have access to WoW. Although I will have my laptop, but I won't be completing my traveler's log.
Probably not.
So once we're back and once we're raiding again and completing Mythic Plus and things like that, then I'll be getting that.
Nice.
With everyone else.
Are you excited to get it?
Yes, I am. We've known that it was the reward for a long time. And from the very start, it's been there. And from the very start, people were a little bit suspicious of it because we knew that there were two color schemes, two color variants of this Warden armor. And if you don't know what we're talking about, if you're listening to it on the podcast version of the show, then the Warden armor is Maeve Shadow Song, right?
Yeah.
We all know what Maeve looks like.
Maiev?
Maiev, yeah, probably. Maeve, I
call her
being
Maiev.
a Celt, I'd say Maeve, but I
Maeve.
think her name is actually Maiev. You're right.
It is.
And so the kind of thing I'm talking about. Now the set doesn't have like you're not just a pure rectangle like Maiev is.
I know.
Like, an actual brick wall just walking around. You can see your arms and torso, but you do have like impressively large shoulder pads. And the classic color scheme is obviously in the green and yellow, but there's also like a moonlight version, which is in kind of very light kind of silver and white. Which
Love that.
Which one's your favorite?
Well, obviously the silver and white one.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I've been reading a lot of comments on this, as you can imagine, and I've got to tell you that is not the most popular choice.
I mean,
you are alone on that one.
I'm used to that, but it's the green and gold one is amazing. But I love the silver one. It's very night elven. I'm just really vibing with like. Like night elves, loon. I love the recolor of the night elf heritage armor, which I will like probably not take off for the next 6 months. That kind of like bluey, like light blue purple. Just yes, so good. So I love that one, and I love the helms. That's my favorite part of this whole thing. It gives me big. Like my favorite, probably of all time, like my favorite set is the the male set from Ulduar. Which has like the two kind of similar kind of like little two horn bits coming off. It has also like the gas mask element, which is something different. But I'm absolutely a sucker for that like shape and like profile. So yes, that's my take on this.
I mean,
color.
it is obviously kind of, it looks at its most natural on a night elf silhouette for sure. But this is going to be wearable by everyone. I think. I don't think it is night elf specific. I think that your orc, your tauren. Your Forsaken, everyone's going to be able to wear it. And hooray for that. That's what I say, because when I see Taurens going around with these bad boys, that's going to look spectacular. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm pretty sure about. But from the very beginning, we knew there were these two color variants, and the icon for it was kind of cut in half. And the icon showed both the green set and the silver set, which made people go, that's exactly the noise they made 12 months ago before this got serious. Yeah, exactly. And they were like, well, okay, well, I hope that means it's not something stupid like a color changing set, right? And everyone thought, nah, that wouldn't happen. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't make a set this sought after, because let's kind of clear another thing up before we go any further. This set is one of the all-time most requested sets to be in the game. Like if you ever kind of did a little poll or something, or just put a question out to chat and you were like, what is the transmog set that you most want in game to be able to equip as a character, people would be like, yo, we want the Warden set, man. Yeah,
it's pretty iconic.
Yeah, so this is like a big deal. It's huge for Night Elf players, and the fact that everyone else can wear it as well is kind of huge for them, particularly Tauren. Everything's huge for Tauren. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so for this to be such a sought after, like at last kind of set, right? They wouldn't do something stupid like have it change color depending on whether it's day or night in the game.
Why would they do that?
I mean, they've got a history for this kind of thing. Don't forget there are buffs from certain gear and in BFA and what have you that kind of change depending on day or night. They gave you like a crit boost in the day and like a verse one at night or something. I can't remember.
Sure.
And like we have like mounts from Legion that change color, but on a much quicker cycle. It's not really a day-night thing. So let's read the blue post real quick about this.
Tell me the official dish on this, please.
It's been nearly a year since T&W, Tawny and Wilder, which I always think is about to be a T&E reference and never is.
Too. It's not.
And the Zenshiri Trading Post have been supplying a variety of delightful mounts, pets, toys, and transmogs to the citizens of Azeroth. To celebrate, players who have earned the monthly special reward from the Trading Post 12 times will be rewarded with a new achievement, Trading Post Enthusiast, along with a new color-shifting transmog. The burden of unrelenting justice transmog set
really is a burden, isn't it?
You'll be able to go from day to night in this stunning new set in the blink of an eye, beginning in January. Don't worry if January isn't your month. You come up a little short.
Okay, hold on.
12 times consecutively.
Yes, very good. Hold on. Keep going, because based on that text, that suggests that it's a changeable thing.
You'll be able to go from day to night in this stunning new set in the blink of an eye. Wait, are you saying that it's not going to change depending on the day-night cycle?
Like, what if... I mean, this is... What's the rest of...
Wait.
What are the rest of the words?
Okay.
What are the rest of the words on the page?
That's it. That's the rest of the words on the page.
Okay, that's it.
That's the whole description of the set.
Okay, so the picture suggests that it changes on a day to night
Yeah,
Life
it's got
cycle.
a picture of the gold and green set in the daytime, and then it's like cut screen, and standing right next to it is the silver and white one with the moon up, right?
Yeah.
So
that suggests to me it cycles with the time of day or night, but then you'll be able to go from day to night in this stunning new set in the blink of an eye, beginning in January. Like,
wait. So you're saying
that sounds like it sounds like it has a toggle.
Wait. You're saying, now this is mind-blowing, like I haven't actually come across this yet, because my assumption and the assumption of the internet, as we will see, right, is that it changes depending on the time of day in game. So if it's daytime, then it's green and gold, and if it's nighttime, it's silver. But you're saying that actually, depending on which one you equip, that changes day or night for you, like the dust toy or the inky black potion or something, like the day or night will change depending on what version of the set you are wearing. Is that what you're saying? To clarify this right now, because it's kind of out there. I'm not saying I dislike it.
No, I think as cool as that sounds, I don't think it goes that far. I think it changes from day color scheme to night color scheme on a toggle.
On a toggle. Okay, so we do have a precedent for this. There's a mount as well.
Yes. So how does the mount work?
Well, that just changes whether it's day or night.
Oh.
Which makes me think that this is a confusingly worded piece.
This is confusing.
And I'm not suggesting that they are purposely trying to muddy the waters here.
No, I don't think
so. To kind of like deflect hatred that they know is coming. All I'm saying is if I worked for CS, I definitely would.
Yeah.
I try and make it as vague as possible. Because, no, I think clearly what's going to happen is when it's daytime, you're in green, and when it's nighttime, you're in silver, which, you know, what do you think about that, Evie?
I just think as someone who used to do this, like I used to write a lot of web copy some time ago, and the editing process and the process of the sheer number of people who would have to go through just to announce the tiniest thing, like reading this. So it's a color shifting transmog, goes from day to night. The image suggests going day to night, but the actual like written words don't suggest to me that like it
so you think it's going to be on a toggle? I
don't know. All I'm saying is that the way it's written is unclear, and you go from day to night. It's like, what do you mean I go from day to night? Like, do I follow if it just says this transmog will change according to the time of day?
Okay, I'm going to need you to get off your fence, Evie. Is there a toggle on this or not? Come on, no fence sitting here, all right?
I don't think there is a toggle, and I think at this stage, I think it's a color changing.
Well, you've got me doubting myself now. I don't even know.
And the thing is, I don't get it. I think the reason this confuses me, and likely the rest of everyone who's into this set, is that I don't understand the point of a day to night changing transmog for a number of reasons. Like I tend to play at night. Am I always going to get the same look? You know,
that's the thing,
I've accepted my piece that like I get to see, you know, Azeroth at night, which looks great. I love it. But I don't understand. I don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that you floated there, that there might be a toggle. I think that would be really, really cool.
I would love there to be a toggle, or just two sets.
That would be great. Yeah,
just
exactly.
Give me 2 sets,
which it definitely isn't right now.
No.
But let's work on the assumption that it is in fact the thing that everyone thinks it is, which is a color changing set depending on the day or night cycle. Yeah, an effing terrible idea.
Yeah, it's
Let's
rubbish.
be real.
That sucks. How am I going to like change with my mount and stuff? And the thing with the mount is the mount armor doesn't change. The mount armor is always green and gold. Like it's just the mount itself that changes. The mount actual armor does not turn like blue, silver, white. So I I'm short circuiting. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, you are a little bit. This is literally broken.
It is. It's hurting
destroyed.
me.
You are broken by this thing that everyone hates.
Tally, you know.
Okay, so wait. I just want to like set the scene here. Okay, let's pretend that something that everyone assumes is the case already. Let's pretend that we work for Blizzard. Okay.
Okay.
And let's pretend that.
Surely we do already.
Well, that's exactly what I just said. And let's pretend that we are in Blizz HQ when the idea for this color shifting, like, you know, we're here and we're like, yo, what have you got for us for the 12-month reward? We need a big one. And they're like, okay, we got a big one for you. Warden Armor. And you're like, yo, I love it. Boom. And they're like, and even better, we've got 2 different color schemes for this Warden Armor. I'm like, dudes, you are going above and beyond. You're incredible. This is amazing. I love it. And they're like, okay, except now, what do you think about this? Okay, I want you to be us. Okay,
I am us.
And I'll be Metzen, floating this idea. Because everything that happens in the game is Metzen now. Don't forget that.
Of course.
Okay, so it's a set, not just any set. A set of armor, not just any armor. It's Warden armor, just like the Wardens wear. And it's got 2 different colors, better than 1, not as good as 3. And what happens is, when it's daytime, that's when the sun is up. It's 1 color. And then when it's nighttime, that's when I like to party. It's silver and gray. What do you think about that, Onions? Is your name Onions? I don't know the names of anyone that works here. I'm Metzen. And then he sits in his chair like this. What do you think? What do you think of that? I'm sitting in my chair. That's where I put my bum.
I mean, I wouldn't dare defy him.
No, we're role-playing right now. I need your proper reaction to this. How does it go?
Yes. Do you think maybe there might be a few complications, but I love the concept. The proof of concept is there. I just think maybe it needs a little tweaking in the delivery.
I am not appreciating your bad vibes right now.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna go and have a sandwich. Okay.
Well, I think maybe that was the reaction everyone had, right? Would you have? I guess the kind of situation I'm trying to work out here is if you had been in the room when this suggestion was made. Would you have thought it was a good idea?
No.
Would you have raised them? Because this is what I always try and do with things that I think have gone badly in WoW, with things that I think were bad decisions. So let me give you an obvious example of a bad decision, right, in WoW recently.
Okay.
The decision that was definitely taken at some point in the creative process to keep Alex Strasza's voice and style of delivery consistent with what she was in Kata. Like at some point, definitely, they were sat down in a creative meeting and they were like, well, it's all about the dragons. Now, we've already established how Alex Strasza talks. We're going to have her talk a lot more in this expansion than any other time we've ever heard. You know, she's a main character. There's just more voice acting in general than there was back in Kata. Do we want to keep her consistent with her Cataclysm delivery, or do we want to modernize it a bit, make it a bit easier, like a bit more naturalistic, easier to listen to? And someone was like, no, I think we should keep it consistent with Kata. Like, people will complain if we kind of, make it more natural. Alex Strasza speaks like this. This is how Alex Strasza speaks. And people are going to think it's weird if we don't do that. So this is the decision we're making, right? And I always try and think, like, if I had been in the room at the time, would I have gone with that idea? Like, and I think, obviously it's turned out to be the wrong decision. Like, because any cinematic or scene or cutscene featuring Alex Strasza is like, just...
It's really hard.
Just makes me want to stab out my eyes. She talks so slowly and unnaturalistically. And it brings every scene she's in to an absolute halt. And it's because of that creative decision that's been made. But if I'd been in the room, would I have been like, yeah, I think it's good that we keep it consistent. I think, this is how we've established that she talks. We should keep it like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm not the biggest fan of that either. I got over it because whatever. But yeah, in terms of like decisions that have been made that aren't like, don't really hit the nail on the head. It's been one of them. So yeah, I can't imagine kind of hearing this. It's like, oh, it's a set. It's the most like one of the most desired sets in the game. We're gonna make it color change. That's
yeah. I think if I'd been in the room, I'd have been like, maybe I'd have liked it. Maybe I wouldn't have liked it. But I think I definitely would have put my hand up and gone, people will hate this. It's like, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Like, bro, amazing. I love where you're coming from. But just so you know, people are going to hate it. And people will hate it because, you know, when it comes to transmog, like the whole point of the system is they want to decide how they look. And you're taking that ability away from them by having the color change depending on what night it is. Like, depending, you know, OC players who basically all play at night, you know, because they basically have to.
Yeah.
Then, you know, you are dictating what color people can use on this. Like a lot of the time, like you say, you play at night, right? So you're only ever going to see the silver version.
Yeah.
Now, well, that's one you like.
Can I ask a question to be really, really pedantic? Is there anywhere in writing which states very clearly that this set changes on a day-to-night cycle?
Well, I mean, the implication definitely is.
No,
like,
are there?
What I assume.
Yeah, but where in the words does it say like very concretely that it changes with the day-to-night
It doesn't say
cycle?
Concretely, but there's a path to go down, isn't there? I mean,
there is, of course.
You know, most people have read it as being like this.
They have, and because they've seen the image.
I haven't seen any blue posts clarifying. But correct me if I'm wrong, if someone wants to send us a link.
Yeah.
Like on stream right now. We are getting lots of lovely super chats through, by the way.
Thank you guys.
And as always, and we should have said this at the top of the show, we should make a note to start saying this at the top of the show. But as always, we will get to all of these super chats with some interesting questions already in the last segment of the show. And last segment of the show is like a super chat Q&A.
Yeah.
So thank you for the questions so far. And obviously, feel free to add some more. Always good. Always a nice way to end the show, I think.
Yeah.
Gets us off whatever stupid tangent we're on.
Yeah, exactly. What all I'm asking for is some concrete in writing. Yeah, there has been a precedent set by the Mount, but just like I wonder if it's being worded like this intentionally because they intend to change it, or keep it open. I don't know.
For me, the implication is definitely, and in the situation that we're in, where we don't have anything else to go on, I think, you know, the safest thing to do is to take it as it most obviously reads, and how most of the community have definitely taken it, which is very, very badly, and rightfully so, I think, as well, to be fair. I think it's absolutely reasonable that people are angry about this. Let's just see what the top comments on the actual post are itself.
Oh, dare we even go there?
Oh no, it's gonna be another forced day-night thing like the Moon Saber. Yeah, this is pretty disappointing. I appreciate the work they put in, but I really hope we get the option to use both. Blizzard, sometimes less is more. All that we asked was a Warden set. That's it. That's all it needed to be. I think that sums up my feelings on it pretty well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like, you had one job. You had one job, which was to give us a Warden set.
I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I'm literally holding on to just the wording, which suggests very slightly that there's a choice.
Yeah, okay, but I really don't want to dwell on that because we don't know.
Sorry.
So I'd actually just like to talk about the thing. If
of
that's
course,
okay.
sorry, I'm dwelling. I'm just holding out. I'm really holding out.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, we don't know that, and we can talk about whether it is or not. But I think the very obvious way of reading the post is that it is changing.
Yeah, and that's disappointing. Like that doesn't feel good to me, and I don't think that feels good to a lot of people.
And it's one of those things, like with, I don't want to bring it back to Alexstrasza now, right? But like with the end cinematic for Emergisil, it's one of those things where it's kind of, it doesn't really matter if I like it or not. Like, I could like this. I could have liked the end cinematic of Emergisil. But whether I like it or not is completely irrelevant to the fact that obviously it's going to cause upset, and obviously most people aren't going to like it. And it's that thing where, you know, like, just make it 2 sets. Yeah, obviously, like, or 3 sets, because you know what, there is a cool kind of idea in the color change thing. Honestly, like it changing color is kind of like a neat little gimmick. You know, it's kind of cool, and you know, I'm sure there are transmog geniuses out there who can make transmogs where, you know, that utilize parts of this set that when it changes color, will actually still match their transmog set, but just change it in subtle ways, which I think would be really cool.
I struggle to see how they would do that, but I'm sure there's someone out there who could do it.
But it always comes down to give the player the choice, right? Let them choose to have the green set, let them choose to have the white set, let them choose to have the color change set if they like. This should definitely be. And you know what? I think it definitely will be changed.
Absolutely,
I cannot see this just being a...
No, and they've got 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens in that time. I cannot wait until January 1st.
Exactly.
To see what's happening there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where you go, I can't believe you thought this was going to be okay. You know, I can't believe that they looked at this set, which was one of the most anticipated sets ever, and just thought, oh, here we are. Oh no, sorry.
Oh,
that's Valrisha. WoW Community Council.
Oh, okay.
But no
any blue posts in there? Any
I don't
blues?
think so.
Have a scroll through and look for the blues.
There doesn't seem to be any clarification on this. What if this is like the most cynical path or outcome that we could have? What if it's intentionally a little bit spicy, like on purpose, and they just want to generate a bit of like chat and discourse and like engagement? Well,
in the lead up to Christmas, and then they've planned all along that you're going to have a choice of both options and that they're going to choose it.
Well, so you like they're setting themselves up for a loss so they can.
Yeah. What if this is like a PR? Sorry, this is like the most cynical potential thing.
I think that would also be idiotic.
Yeah, it would. Nicely. No, I know. I'm just
I don't think that is happening.
I'm just reaching for straws right now because I really, really don't want it to become
that
changing.
Kind of smells of whenever there's like in leak season, people are always like, do you think Blizz puts out fake leaks?
They're like,
themselves. To make people really happy when it's the actual kind of thing. And it's like, no, why would they do that? Why would they put out something that they're not going to do that people might think is good? You know, like, why would they put out a leak which people would look at and go, hey, you know what? I like that. Some good ideas in there. And then actually announce something completely different. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
no one would do that.
And
likewise for this, I would argue they've already generated enough kind of, if hate clicks all count and they're all good, then they've generated enough of that by having a 12-month wait on it. Because I do not care about that. It's good to have a reward for 12 months of engagement with the thing, and a transmog kind of reward is an obvious one, and whatever, who cares? But there are many people again who are very upset about this and have been upset about it for 12 months. Were very upset 12 months ago when it was first announced. Have been kind of on the back burner with this for a little while, but now that it's back in the public eye, right back on it as well. And there are still people complaining about the I'll say time gating because they're saying it in the comments now. So there was always going to be bad press around this anyway.
Yeah. This is not the Christmas gift I want,
exactly. In answer to your...
This is not in the holiday spirit.
No, I don't think that they purposely pissed everyone off.
Absolutely not.
I think they were expecting everyone to be really happy about this, which is baffling to me, honestly. Like, the set is brilliant. It looks fantastic.
Can I just, out of curiosity, friends in the chat, is anyone in here who is really excited about the color change? Because that's also totally valid. Like, if you like the color change,
so like
that's
I
awesome.
kind of like the color change.
Yeah,
I think that's a neat thing to happen. But the idea that you can only have the color change and not have just the color that you want also. is insane to me because I like the color. You know what? If it was 3 sets, a green one, a silver one, and a color change one, I'd probably wear the color change one personally because I think it'd be fun.
Just
I probably
for
wouldn't wear it
giggles.
much anyway, to be honest.
Why not?
But yeah, like I don't believe that even anyone that really likes the color change is like, I like the color change, and also you shouldn't have the option of just being green or silver. Like, everyone's gonna be like, yeah, I like the color change, but also you're right, they should have the choice of either one, right? No one's gonna be staunchly anti-color change, like anti-static set. kind of, even if they're really into the color change thing, right? Yeah, it's the mandatory color change
element,
which is
exactly.
Yeah, it should be 3 sets or on a toggle or whatever. And I think like a really valid point is what it does is it means that you can't use any of the pieces in like any other transmog.
No,
it means that you have to wear the whole thing all of the time because it's going to change and not match anymore.
Yeah, because there's such different vibes. Like it's just a completely different vibe.
Oh dear. I know. This is almost as bad as when we got the bandolier that didn't actually go around the body. This is man, do you remember that? There's another one coming out this month as well. Another one in the data, maybe not this month, but coming up. I kept wanting to call it a gondolier, but that's a completely different thing. A bandolier, which like an ammo belt, right?
Yeah,
a bandolier, like a kind of thing that goes around the body. We've got the technology. We can make it happen.
Yeah.
But
wait,
why?
does it not go all the way around?
No,
is it just on the front?
No, it's just on the back.
No.
It's the worst thing you've ever seen. It's not even one at the front, one at the back, not connected over the shoulders. It's literally just a back thing with like, to add insult to injury, with buckles. With buckles at each end, which should definitely be connected to something. It's like it's just magically stuck to your back with all this ammo in it, and then these loose buckles on either end. It's horrible. I hate it so much. It could have been the best thing ever. It could have been so cool. And yet here we are. This should have been the heritage armor for Nelfs. I mean, the problem is that, that would have meant that you had the actual heritage armor for Nelfs, which is also brilliant, but is also much more specifically Nelf.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird seeing Tauren wear the Sentinel, the Warden armor anyway, but it would be even weirder seeing them wear what is the Night Elf heritage armor.
I feel like a troll could maybe pull it off. Like,
okay.
No, it's no, I'm with you exactly.
Yeah.
Just a big sigh.
But yeah, I get it. Like, and there'll be people that make the most of this color change thing and who it works for brilliantly. And they, like I say, maybe they can find a way to find that's going to be the creme de la creme. And there are people out there that are going to make it happen. There are people out there that are going to make a set with like 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of the Warden set, and it will be so expertly designed that when the Warden set changes color, it will still work as a transmog, but just with a different vibe with the other pieces that they use.
Exactly. Like maybe you take the shoulders, gloves, and shoes or something, and then have a chest piece that somehow has, green and silver and anyway.
And as far as we're aware, it is available for all different body types. Including the races and stuff as well, but again, we're not entirely certain of that. This post has been a little bit vague, honestly. So I think there's a Wowhead article as well, but I don't think they will have gone into any more detail about it. Because I think their article is just about the blue post, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, Nulgar. Yeah, there's no kind of. It does say it's color changing, but it doesn't say that it.
I think that is massive amounts of copium there, guys. I've got to say.
I'm huffing it.
Has released a new blog post highlighting the Ensemble Burden of Unrelenting Justice transmog set, awarded alongside Trading Post Enthusiast. Originally data mined in patch 10.05, this Warden transmog matches the Ashadar Harbinger of Dawn mount, which was also available as a monthly trading post reward, although it has received some mixed criticism from enthusiasts due to its color-shifting nature. While certainly unique, this does not appear to be a static version, allowing players to choose one coloration or the other, making it difficult to match with other partial... But again, this is just taking the same that we took from the article. So it's not... But then, the mount that does seem designed to go with it does change color in a different way. The mount armor does stay green and gold all the way through. Yeah. It is, you're right. It is the mount that changes color.
Yeah. The actual armor on the mount doesn't change.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot There's a lot going on here.
I think it's fair to assume that it's color changing based on the time of day in the place, and people aren't happy about it. People don't like it, Evie. People aren't happy in the slightest.
No.
Well, I don't blame them, actually. This is such a dumb, and it's so easy to fix. You know, I'm most disappointed with Blizz when they do something that you just go, did you think people would be okay with this? You know, like, regardless of whether I think the thing is good or bad, you know.
Like, what did they think? What did you think the reaction was going to be?
Is really bad, right? If I can see why they thought it was going to be a good idea, I'm usually quite forgiving. Whereas with most of this stuff, it's just like, I can't even see why you thought this was a good idea.
No, and like they're usually.
I'm so disappointed that you thought this was a good idea.
Yeah, like they know the temperature of the community and just the vibe. And
yeah.
So yeah, I'm struggling with my feelings about this one. I want to be hopeful, but I'm hoping they will step in and change it.
Yeah, I feel like they've got to, right? Yeah. And, you know, one thing that you would say is that Blizz have been quite good in Dragonflight with sort of reacting to feedback and changing things and what have you. And, like, I could see them stepping in and changing this. But I don't think it will be there for launch, perhaps. But I can see it changing eventually, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes sometimes they just don't tell you stuff. Like, with the Night Elf Heritage Armor, for instance, for a full month, it was the purple version, which nobody wanted, right? Or the red version.
Looks good. The red version looks good. I've changed my tune on that one. I saw someone in Raid with it on, and I was like, looks sick.
I guess depending on the exact coloration of your Night Elf skin.
Exactly. You have to go for like the rosier hue. You gotta go that way. But and then the blue and white set just came as part of the finishing the quest line, which was a really pleasant surprise. But yeah, people were like, give me that. Where's that?
Yeah.
Why don't I have that?
And I think it was always their plan to have the other one become available to Night Elves like after the end of the raid, after you've completed the raid. I think that's always been the idea, but they just didn't want to mention it. And there's only a week's difference before people found out or whatever, or a month's difference. So they were like, they kept quiet on that one, whereas they could have come out and just said, oh no, the other version is going to be available after you complete the raid. And they just chose not to. And they chose to take the shit from that. And they chose to take the flack from it and the criticism, knowing that it was coming later. So maybe there's something like that happening here.
Could be.
But I mean, you know, we do have the perfect opportunity to get these sets in one color or another with quests coming up in Amirdrasil, right? You know, so in patch 10.25, which is coming out in the new year, the same time as this color change set, there will be story quests around Amirdrasil, which is being rebuilt. I don't know if you checked it out on the PTR. It's absolutely horrible to check out on the PTR right now because it keeps throwing you out and freezing. And you can usually, it usually takes me about 10 minutes to get in, and I usually have about 3 minutes to run around and kind of like look at everything before it starts going all
booted,
terrible. But you know, like that would be the perfect opportunity to award that to. How would you feel if the static versions of the Warden set, the green and the silver individually, were rewards but only for Night Elf players? And the color changing one was the Trading Post one, which could be worn for everyone.
No, I don't think Night Elves deserve. I mean, I think no.
Night Elf Twitter, did you hear that?
Stop.
Did you hear that, Night Elf
No.
Did you hear what she said?
Do not fan the flames, Sally. No. I as a Night Elf, I feel like I am absolutely eating these days. Like there's so much good Night Elf stuff going on.
I can't believe you hate Night Elves. I can't believe you don't think they deserve a new home or armor sets. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you said they deserve everything that's happened to them in the last few years.
To address your question,
I can't believe you said they don't deserve to be happy. Oh my goodness.
I don't think.
I thought you'd say that.
I think it would be deeply unfair to give one specific race the like set color versions, and everyone else has to suffer with the color changing ones.
Okay, but counterpoint, hear me out, right? Would it be a way of appeasing everyone? Because then, you know, Night Elves, there are Night Elves, and, you know, Night Elf Twitter is a funny place, I granted, but, you know, it is full of people that care very deeply and, you know, and just want the best for their chosen fictional race. And, you know, there are voices of concern over on Night Elf Twitter that, you know, it's kind of cheapening for Night Elves to have to share the Warden set, and that it's so specifically a Night Elf thing. And Night Elves don't get enough like unique things, right? Like, you know, demon hunters and stuff like that. But
Sure.
like, but like this idea that, you know, we have to give it to everyone, and that is kind of cheapening to the Night Elf experience, because it should be Night Elf only, right? So if there was a version of it that was Night Elf only, and there was also like the trading post version which was for everyone else, would that be a way of kind of evening that out a little bit, don't you think?
So are
I'm
you
playing
saying,
devil's advocate here.
No, I know you are, and it's just what you do. So are you saying the trading post version for everyone is the color changing one?
Yeah.
And Night Elves get just the set colors.
Well, I'm only saying that because I know that the color changing one is on the trading post.
No, I know. I feel like it kind of has to be all or nothing. I feel like you either give this set exclusively to Night Elves or you don't.
Yeah. Which would you do?
I give it to everyone.
Yeah, screw those Night Elves. Who cares about them?
No, I think it's amazing that as a Night Elf, I'll have the option to wear it. The thing is, the silhouette's going to look incredible on Night Elves, and I'm curious to see how it's going to be on other races, because it probably won't look as cool. It might look amazing.
Well, yeah,
but it's literally it's made for Night Elves.
Well,
so
yeah,
in that sense,
my thought is it's going to look good on other races, but it won't look like Wardens, you know?
Exactly.
Whereas only on that Night Elf silhouette is it going to look like a Warden.
Exactly, yeah.
So Night Elf's going to look great in it. Zandalari Trolls are going to look good in it. That's it.
Yeah, you need kind of like the tall.
They're the same skeleton.
Yeah, you need the tall ones to wear it. So yeah, in that sense, I don't really see the point in giving some of it just to Night Elf players and a slightly, worse version of it to everyone else.
I think I probably agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like
I know.
questions out there.
I'm trying to figure it out too, and I'm sure we will hear more about this kind of in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I don't know how to do a poll in YouTube chat. Unfortunately, can I just like / type poll? That's what happens on Twitch.
But yeah, if you press that,
that's POL poll.
No, you have to be on YouTube. You have to.
Right, I can't do that.
You want to start a poll?
Yeah, sure. Can you start a poll?
Start a poll.
Oh my goodness, you can do it. Why didn't you do it ages ago? Okay, so right. I mean, what do you want to ask?
What's the poll?
Ask first. Should this be Night Elf only?
Should the Warden set be Night Elf only? What?
Nothing. I'm just glad no one else can see you typing. That's great.
Excuse me. I'm just capitalizing
really
Night Elf.
Yes and no. Yes
and no.
Yeah.
Okay. Start poll.
Okay. The poll is in the chat now, so I guess we'll find out. But I mean, it's pretty obvious from reactions and from comments and things like that that people aren't particularly happy with at least the color change aspect of it. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
And I'd expect the answer to this to be pretty 50-50 as well.
Yeah.
Whether it should be Night Elves only. I do definitely see, there's a sense at the moment that the Night Elves get a new home, but it's technically kind of like a neutral city. It's like a sanctuary, right?
Yeah.
And so I get it. They are the reason they need new home is because they were made homeless by the Horde, and now Horde are allowed in their city. And I talk about this at length in the new weekly reset, which came out hours before we're making this episode. So if you haven't watched the new weekly reset, please do. Last one of 2023.
Have a look.
And we talk about Amir Jasil and the new city and the sanctuary status of it, Angelneus, and like the upcoming content drought as well. All things that we're not talking about today on purpose because it's all in the weekly reset. But there is a sense that, I like that it's a sanctuary city. I like that it's not actually a neutral city. It is a Night Elf city. It's an Alliance city, and the Horde that are there are very clearly allowed there.
Like
they have no right
They're
to
guests.
be there. They very much are guests. There's like a buff that you get in your buff bar when you're Horde, which is like you are being watched very, very.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that. That's really good.
All of the portals in Belemeth are to Night Elf places and Stormwind. There's no Orgrimmar portal in there.
Oh, nice.
So it's explicitly very much a a night elf city, which the Horde are allowed into. And I think that's brilliant. Being a city person myself and someone who's lived in some pretty metropolitan cities, that's the kind of city I like, right? I like cities that are welcoming and inviting, and because I think that shows confidence and strength and power, right? You know, like you want to see like a bunch of losers. Look at Gilneas, who built a huge wall around their city. Like, walls are for people who are scared. Walls are for people who aren't confident and don't have power.
Oh yeah, this is an absolute power move by the Night Elves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that for the Night Elves. I love that the Night Elves are like, yo, yeah, come into our city. Yeah, I know we were killing each other a little while ago, but you know, we don't care. It's our city. Come on in. We're watching you.
Yeah. Do you know what we're really good at? Like watching.
Yeah.
Like being, totally. You know, stealthily warding, watching, you know, keeping an eye on things. So yeah, I really love that. So the poll after 303 votes is 51% yes, 49%
wow,
no.
There you
so
go,
really
man. So
split.
people are actually like, but you got to remember that like so many more people, you know, can access the set if it's open for all. So like that for 52% of votes to say that it should be Night Elf only shows that even a bunch of players that don't play Night Elf are like, yeah, I think this probably should be Night Elf. Like, even though it means I won't be able to have it on my Tauren and disguise myself in Belemeth and walk around without being watched because they think I'm just one of them. That's, you know, blend in so well. Like, even then, so you got a lot of people who are like willing to not have the Warden set so that Night Elves can have it. I think that's kind of showing, right?
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating.
Do you think Sylvanas would be allowed in the city? I mean, that's a different question, right? And the idea is, you know, like, because it's not really a neutral city, because the Horde are being allowed in, you know, the Night Elves always reserve the right of refusal. You know, it's like that. It's like, well, yeah, I know we said the Horde could come in, but not that Horde, like not that person.
No.
You know, they always have the right to go, oh yeah, not you, not in those shoes, mate, not in that shirt.
Absolutely not.
Like, yeah, totally. And that's the entire point. Like, they have the right to do that because it's their city, but they're just choosing not to. But they could easily invoke that right at any time. You know, like it's yeah. I think that's cool, and I think it's really nice. And it means you can set story there for everyone, which I think is important because you know, Horde and Alliance have both helped save the tree. And you know, make the city be there in the first place. So I think it makes sense that certain Horde would be allowed into the city, honestly. You know, we had 2 whole expansions where we watched Tyrande as a kind of representative of all Night Elves, really go through like mindless rage and a thirst for vengeance and bloodlust in revenge for what happened, and then come to the conclusion that that wasn't actually best for her personally or her people, and decide that, you know, a more healing approach is better. And you know, we've had this path, we've had this journey. It makes sense for me that they let other people in.
Yeah, I get that. Like I say, it feels like a power move. It's like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, here we are.
And it was when I started thinking about it in those terms
like,
that I was like, yeah, no,
good.
it shows like badassness. It shows like confidence and power, man. Like, yeah, like Gilneas walling itself up is always portrayed as a cowardly move, like a move based on fear. And isolationism is usually based on fear, right? And it's what the Night Elves used to do.
Yeah,
and I think that's really cool that they've kind of, you know, come out of that since Warcraft 3. And I like that, you know. Some people prefer the characters when they were like portrayed as these sort of elusive savages and stuff, and I think that's cool as well. But it just doesn't make sense with how long they've been a playable race in the game.
No, really. And like their story in the game, right? They've changed, like their society has changed throughout, you know, World of Warcraft, right? They've
totally.
You know, opened up a bit. So
yeah, and I think the next kind of bridge to be mended will probably be Forsaken and Humans at some point as well. You know, we've had hints of that in the Before the Storm novel years ago. That there are people who are willing to give that a shot, and I'd love to see Forsaken being allowed in Stormwind, and you know, but watched, right, and kind of Humans being allowed in Undercity and things like that. I think, you know, it makes sense, and that's not a kind of, oh, everyone should be able to play everything and go everywhere in the game. No, like that's a natural progression of the lore and story to me. It's been 20 years, right, since the Third War or whatever. And stuff moves on, you know, like,
yeah,
my to base this horribly in the real world for a second, but like, my grandparents fought in the Second World War, and they hated people from certain countries as a result, but they'd still go on holiday. They still would talk to someone from that country who worked with them or something, and who like society, like, what I say in the weekly reset is, I think it's perfectly understandable that for some people on a personal level, there are scars that can never heal if you've been through horrific wartime experiences and stuff like that, and certain grudges and things and that will never heal. But that's on a personal level. Society always heals, and society always moves on.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I broadly, I agree. I agree with your point, and I think World of Warcraft is kind of the perfect like petri dish for these kind of, shifts in like cultures, meeting and accommodating each other and fighting with each other, but also finding ways to coexist. So
one thing I do love about the loosening of faction stuff in WoW, apart from the lore side of it, because I know there's obviously a movement in kind of WoW discourse at the moment, which is very much like, bring back the war in World of Warcraft. Why aren't we fighting each other? Why aren't we killing each other? And I am sympathetic to that. Honestly, I am. I get it. I do get it. But I've also got to say, wow. I really love having, as an Alliance player, Hordes in my Mythic Plus and Raid pugs.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, it's so good.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's so good.
Feels great.
Can I take a little detour to tell you about my Mythic Plus journey in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, tell me.
So, you know me, at the beginning of a season, I am really into Mythic Plus because at the beginning of a season, my one aim and my one reason to play the game more than anything else is to beat the raid. That is like the group content that I do in WoW is to beat the raid, and we do it at a heroic level, and we aim for our curve. We have gone into Mythic now that we've kind of beaten Firak like heroic, so we'll do a re-clear, and then with any time left that we have, we'll go and progress some Mythic. So we've killed like one Mythic boss. It was much harder than it should have been, but we did it, and
nice.
Then we'll go on and we'll hopefully get the 2 that we need, or the 3 that we need to get like the Mythic kind of bit in the vault, which would be really, really nice.
Sweet.
And that's how we usually end up. We usually end up like with our curve and like 3 Mythic bosses done by the end of the season, and that's great. And so I love having that sort of objective of everything I do in the game is to try and improve my character so that they're in the best position to get that curve. And it was a lot more satisfying 2 raids ago when those raids were harder and lasted longer, because it meant I engage in all aspects of the game more when I'm still doing progression, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I'm doing my Mythic Plus because I need the vault, because I need to get my tier set, because I need to like have that in place so that we can beat the raid. Raid's beaten now, but I was jumping into Mythic Plus to kind of do that. And Mythic Plus, because of the power creep and how easier it is to get gear in Dragonflight seasons 2 and 3, I think, I'm finding, and I've never pugged Mythic Plus before, because I've just never pugged it, because why would I? I'm in a guild, and I always say when people, and but pugging in Mythic Plus is a big topic of conversation, right?
Yeah.
And happens on stream all the time. People are like, I just can't get in pugs, I can't do this. What's your advice? And my advice is always like, join a guild.
Join a guild,
right?
yeah,
because there are people online all the time who will help out. Sometimes they're absolute ballers and they're doing me an absolute favor, and it's great. Yeah, and I'm like, well, and whenever these conversations and around Mythic Plus start and pugging Mythic Plus start, I'm always like, well, I'm glad I don't have to do that. That sounds rubbish. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to pug. It sounds absolutely toxic and disgusting. And yeah, but I needed to get some stuff for my vault. So I pugged like a 16, like at some point last week.
Okay.
And I got in instantly.
Nice.
The group was really lovely. We absolutely smashed the key.
Sweet.
And I was like, huh.
On a 16.
On a 16.
Well done.
And it was so easy. And my item level was something like 460 something, I want to say.
I'm almost at 460.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, okay. Well, let's see. And then I pugged an 18. And I was like, the same thing happened. I got accepted for that. I'm a healer, and I'm a disc priest healer, which people kind of see as being quite good this season, granted. But, you know, I had a low rating and I hadn't done these dungeons at this level because like the most I'd ever done in this season before that was a 16, and I'd done like a handful of them. I hadn't even done every like dungeon.
Sure.
I got my Keystone Master.
Nice.
So that I could get the heroic tier piece, right?
Yes.
Well, that's why I did it. And I did that really quickly. But as soon as I got that, I was like, whatever. And you only need to do a few 16s for that, you know.
Gotta get on that.
Yeah, yeah, you do. And like, so I plugged an 18 and the exact same thing happened. I got taken for the group instantly. The group were really nice. And we absolutely smashed the key. And I was like, oh, okay. And I thought, well, let's go for a 20. So I pugged a 20 at Taldazar, because I know that's the easiest one, right? And I pugged a 20 at Taldazar, and we destroyed it. Again, picked up for the group instantly, despite not having done a 20. This expansion, right? I don't take Mythic Plus very seriously. I like it, but I do what I need to do, because it's not the reason I play the game or anything like that. But I was like, okay. And I'm making mistakes, right? And as a healer, you can't hide. Like, those mistakes are pretty obvious, because I don't know the fights at that level. But so I'm kind of learning as I go, but everyone was really, really nice. And, you know, also I am a baller player. They noticed that, so it is what it is. We smashed the key, and I had a 20, and I had a portal. And I was like, I just got a portal. Amazing.
Nice.
Brilliant. So, yeah, like, Mythic Plus is super easy this season. If I'm pugging 20s without any problem at all, and that inspired me. And I was like, well, all right, if I can pug a Taldazar at 20... I wonder what else we can do.
Right.
At 20. And this was tyrannical at Alzar, which isn't as easy as fortified, granted, but like, you know, it's still pretty easy. And I went and I pugged every single dungeon at 20.
Amazing.
And I've got them all now. Maybe not tied. No, I do have tides. I don't have tides fortified, but I got tides tyrannical. And like, yeah, so I'm like, oh, I've done them all. And I had an entire row filled up on my vault.
I
with
love
20s,
that for you.
Which is great. Guess what I got on my vault?
Oh.
On that row, guess what I got?
A cloak.
I'd love a cloak. I'm rocking a 440 cloak right now. I'm rocking a 440 cloak and a 440 chest. And I was like, well, it'd be pretty easy to upgrade one of these. I got 2 offhands and a ring with the wrong stats on it.
No. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Of my 480s on that row. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, okay, great, brilliant. Well, that's nice.
Lucky you.
And yeah, so there's that thing of I went out and I pugged every single key at 20 on a tyrannical week, and it was an especially easy week last week, because it was tyrannical, and it was like the wind one, where like the whirlwinds come up. And it was the one where, once they get down to 30 health, you can't crowd control the baddies. And it's like, who cares?
Whatever.
On tyrannical week, who cares, right?
Yeah.
So it was a really easy combo, and it was, you know, I'm not pretending that I'm a baller or anything like that. The reason I'm telling the story is because I'm like, it is easier than usual, you know? It definitely is, because, you know, I've pugged keys like on very rare occasions, just as a one-off in the past. It's always been horrible. But to be pugging 20s, I mean, it must say something. People in the chat saying it's undertuned, and I dare say it is, but I think more of it has got to do with the fact that I'm closer to Mythic level gear than I ever would have been able to do before Dragonflight.
Yeah.
You know, you go back to Shadowlands, you go back to BFA, I would not have been in this level of gear that I'm in now. Like, you know, I can upgrade my heroic gear to base level Mythic easily. Like, just gear that I get in the heroic raid, right? So I'm already only a touch off like Mythic gear, apart from my 440 cloak and chest, right?
And I feel like that improvement has gone. It's not just like your level of players; it's across the board, right? Yeah. So I'm much more geared than I usually would be at this point, even though I haven't managed to do tons of raids.
What's your item level again?
It's like 456, I think.
Because mine's 476 now.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said 460.
Well, it was when I started this adventure.
Well, obviously doing some 20s would bump you up.
Well, getting those aspects crests, man, that really helps. Because then suddenly you're like, all that hero gear you've got, you're just like, wow, I'm like 483 now.
Exactly, and that's kind of my ceiling. Is that I'm not going to do like higher level raiding really. So I think I am just going to have to do keys, because that's going to be the only way to get those aspect crests, or like the higher level crests, to upgrade my stuff. But I feel like I'm already just at a higher level than I normally would be anyway.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because it's easier. Maybe it is easier, but it's also more like user friendly in some ways. Like I just feel like I've geared up, and I'm also more inclined to do Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this before as well. Like it is not my thing, but I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it now.
Well, dude, knowing that I was basically in Mythic gear certainly, you know, gave me the confidence to even apply to a higher Mythic Plus than I would have done usually. I was like, well, look, my gear's not that different from people running this stuff, so like, why not? Whereas before, it's like a whole different game. Like back in Shadowlands or BFA or Legion, it was like, well, the guys are running the higher keys, and you know, I know 20 isn't even considered really a higher key, but for me it is. And you know, they're all dressed in like proper Mythic raid gear. They're getting their gear from raid, and they're going up and they're doing this. So you know, we're in different leagues. Quite apart from talent and skill at the game,
Sure.
we're in different leagues with just like the access of gear that we have as well. But now, like, yeah, I feel on much more of a level, and you know, I'm not struggling in these keys. They're easy. You know, I'm doing a 20. I'm pugging 20s all the time.
Well, you're not struggling, but you learn how to play the dungeons, right? You know, and that's the thing. Someone also mentioned this in chat. Like it's less. You know, it becomes more about like knowing the mechanics. It's always, you know, been part of it. But like, you know, your eye level and your gear might not be such a huge factor. Like the more important thing is knowing what you're doing and knowing, you know, kind of, you know, the mechanics and stuff. And so it's, as you say, easy for you because you know them, right?
But I know them because there's a lower barrier to entry to get into
to actually
when you're seeing those mechanics and stuff. Because
exactly.
Like, it is different than when you're doing it on a +8 or a +10.
Oh yeah,
something,
of course.
because,
We're just reading about them,
yeah,
right? So
to the extent where you don't have to bother with a lot of the mechanics and things at that
exactly.
level, and you know, intentionally so as well. So yeah, I think a lower barrier to entry can potentially just make people better at the game, you know. I've always said this. I've always said, I love raiding. It's the reason why I play the game, really, when it comes down to it. And I'm happy at the level that we're at. I really enjoy it when we go into Mythic, but it's not the end of the world if we don't. Like, I'm quite happy just raiding with my buddies and doing heroic and stuff. But you know, I would never have even got into that if it hadn't been for LFR. So I always completely disagree with the arguments, which is like, oh, players take the course of least resistance, and the fact that LFR exists takes people out of the raiding pool. It's like, no, for me, I wouldn't have been able to raid without LFR because I'd never have had the confidence to do it, you know?
Yeah, it's I jumped onto the last wing of LFR, which opened this week with T Swift and Farak, and I was like, okay, how is this going to go? Right. Well, one thing, everyone's kind of like massively overgeared for it who's in there. It's just looking for extra little bits to drop. But then, you know, when you get to the dragon riding aspect, right, it was really interesting because almost everyone knew what to do. Like almost everybody knew what to do. There were a couple of people who clearly had no clue and had no idea. But they kind of managed it in the end. They figured it out. So it was really quite heartening to see people knowing what to do. And there are a few people who still, like, you know, maybe went in blind, which, yeah, whatever, it's fine, it's LFR, or just didn't know what was going on. But they were still kind of like supported by the group. It was still like super friendly. It was quick, you know, it's LFR, so you don't get half of the mechanics, you know, like you said before, you don't really see anything. But I was like really pleasantly surprised to see an end boss so doable, and seeing people doing the mechanics and learning the mechanics. So yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't stop people from raiding, right?
So. Like,
and I think there's something really nice about the idea that it is that making some things easier in the game makes people better players because they're more inclined to start and try those things.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not advocating for taking the harder things away. Quite the opposite. I'd like the harder things to be harder, actually, as it goes. But I think having a lower entry lower barrier to entry and having easier versions of things. I think it's a great way of feeding people into the harder content. Personally, that's definitely what happened to me. And do you remember when we first got, like, I had never in my first experience of the game, because I started playing in Wrath of the Lich King, story time, history time, tally lore. I started playing Wrath of the Lich King. I remember I started playing the day before Obama's inauguration.
Wow. Old school.
And I remember because I went to see Obama's inauguration in Times Square. I was in New York at the time.
Nice.
Like, the day after I downloaded WoW onto my laptop. So like that, I'll always remember the first day I started playing WoW. And so I went and, Wrath had been out for a couple of months at that point, but still really, really new. And I got into it and I played all the way through Kata, but like completely solo. You know, I started as like a rogue or something, I think, and had no idea how to play the game. I was like the worst player in the entire world, obviously. I remember one time I grouped up with I think I started like a Blood Elf Paladin, and there's one of the very early Blood Elf quests is killing a big spider in like the spider bit just outside Silvermoon. And it was a badass spider and it kicked my ass. And I asked some guy who was passing by if we could group up to kill the spider, and we grouped up. And I was so excited because it was the first person I'd ever grouped with in the game. And I was like, wow, this really is a massive multiplayer online game. I was like, this is what it's all about. I've made next stop, whatever like the main content of this game is. Oh, wow. Me and my buddy, and I kept stopping to take like screenshots of us walking along the road to kill the spider to the extent that he fucked off. Like, I kept stopping to take screenies and he just dropped the group, and I don't think I ever killed the spider. But I was so I'll never forget how excited I was to get in that group. But otherwise, and then like when Kata came out, or just towards the end of Wrath, because that's when the group finder came in for dungeons, I think. And I was like, my leveling is going nowhere in this game. I'm still playing it, but I've hit a complete wall. Apparently doing dungeons is a really good way of leveling, like really efficient, really quick. And apparently it's really easy to get into a dungeon if you're a healer. And that's when I started playing Priest, was basically just so I could bot through leveling as a healer. Still never got to max level, but I did do much, much better. That was then I was like queuing for dungeons constantly and doing that all the time. I was still terrible, really, really bad at the game. And I stopped playing in Kata then just because life got in the way and I didn't love it and what have you. I didn't start playing the game again until I met you years and years later.
It's true.
And you brought it up in our first date. Like, people often ask if I got you into the game, but it was like the other way around.
It was the other way around, and it literally came up like on one of our first dates.
I feel like you were trying to push me away. I feel like you thought that was going to scare me off.
Well, because I didn't think you liked me very much, and so I was like, whatever. It was just clearly in a
so
a kind of phase.
She didn't think I liked her, even though I had literally chased her down a corridor to get her number. And then like I'd been away for a couple of weeks at like music festivals, so I was like sending her photos of the music festival where I was at in preparation for our date. Then I was like an hour early for our date to make sure we got a nice table at this pub. And then we had a really, really lovely evening. We had a kiss. And then she was like, this guy hates me. I'm going to tell him about WoW.
Listen, I was in a phase where I think I thought everyone actually hated me. It was me. It wasn't you, Tally. Don't worry. But
thank goodness, otherwise you might never have made do with me.
Yeah. It's true.
Imagine if you like set your sights for the kind of person that you should have been going out with. Wow.
But anyway,
thank you for punching down. Yeah. Thank you for punching way below your like
my threshold.
Your weight. Yeah.
So and WoW came up, and I was like, I've got what were our like levels back then? Anyway,
it was MOP.
It was So
you were playing MOP because you had played at Yale, right? That was like your kind of secret thing.
I did, and then I played. I went to like Poland for a year, and I was studying there for a year. And bless him, like I played in college, and then I stopped for a little bit. And then I was like in Poland, and then it came up with like a guy who one of my roommates, and I remember on the last day of our classes, he like literally gave me a brown envelope and was like, "Have fun," and I was like, "Huh?" And it was just like the CD, it was just the discs of like WoW,
awesome.
Like bass.
Please tell me they were on like green discs and they were like
no, exactly, no, it was just like the base game on a CD, and I was like. Yes. And this is back when laptops had like CD inputs, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. So, and then I got back into it again, and then it kind of, I was playing it. Mop came out, I was playing it. And then, Christmas kind of rolled around, our first Christmas, and we'd talked about it, and I'd been playing a bit, and I was like, I
used to love hearing about you talk about WoW, because I was still not a player. I had no desire to get back into it at all, but I love that you played it, and I love that you were talking about it, and I loved hearing your stories about it, because you played Hunter, which I'd never played, and you used to tell me how you'd stay up to get Logosh, not Logosh, who's like the white panther,
Loch-na-Hawk.
You told me about how you'd stayed up like all night to get that pet and stuff, and I loved hearing that. And then you were like, hey, have you ever been to Grizzly Hills? I was like, yeah, I remember going to Grizzly Hills once. And you were like, listen to the music from. Do you know them? And we had an evening in listening to WoW music that you really liked, and you know all of that. We had such a good time, but I still had no desire to play the game.
No, and then I was like, I feel like it's time. It's time to get Tally back. He didn't have a computer, but he did have an Xbox that he played Grand Theft Auto on. I remember that.
One of my earliest memories of our relationship is like, you were like, can I come over? And I was like, well, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 5, but sure. And you came over, and we hadn't been going out long, so I don't know why I was this confident,
very early on.
but I was just in my pants, and Evie came over with like a pizza and just sat there watching me play GTA 5, which, I knew you liked video games, right? So I knew that it wasn't like the weirdest thing to happen. I knew you'd probably quite enjoy it, but you did indeed like take slices of pizza out and start feeding them to me while I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5, which was pretty amazing, really, pretty cool. And you bought me a PC then. You bought me a laptop.
I did, and I'm like super extremely cheap laptop, and I'm like, it'll be good enough to run like Word on it. He'll be fine. You'll be able to write stuff on it. Oh, when you gave it
to me, you were like, oh, this is for your writing.
This is for your writing, yeah, so you can write stuff on it. And then, of course, you just played.
And literally the first thing I did was went around your flat where the internet was better and downloaded Mop. And then you were like, oh, are you downloading WoW? And I was like, yeah, I just thought, so we can talk about it together. I just thought it'd be a good idea. And you're like, okay, are you starting a new account? And I was like, well, yeah, it's been years since I've played. I can't even remember the details of my last account. I wouldn't even. And also, it's an American account. Or I did start an American account so we could play together.
We did, and I was still playing my American account.
And you were like, well, look, if you're going to start a new account, can you do it as my recruiter friend? And then we'll level together, and then I get a mount. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then, literally every evening, for the next couple of months, we'd get home from work and we'd just level up in WoW together.
Yeah.
It was so cool. And your birthday's in February, and I had booked us like a long weekend in a wood cabin. Like in this,
the woods.
Yeah, in the woods with like a jacuzzi and, log burner and sexy stuff like that.
Okay.
For the sexy times, right?
Yeah.
It was like, it's a sexy time birthday, time for the sexy times. What's the internet like in this wood cabin?
Yeah, is the internet okay?
Is it good internet?
Can you do like pizza delivery?
And
yeah,
we hit max level in the wood cabin.
As it were.
Yeah, exactly. And we hit and hit and hit.
We just maxed it out.
But we did get to max level in the wood cabin, and that was and then I was like, wow, I've never got to max level in WoW before. This is crazy. What do we do now? And you're like, oh, my friends. It's called LFR. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's like, we're going to go and do because this was like Siege of Orgrimmar time.
Yeah. Oh my God, I loved Siege of Orgrimmar LFR.
But and you were like, we have to start with the first raid of the expansion because you're so low gear, but we'll go through them. And then, and so we did. And like, most of what we did in that log cabin was going through LFR, like every LFR in the game, in Mop.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of raids in Mop, right? So yeah, we kind of like went through it, and that was my first experience. And I was absolutely hooked. It was running at like 8 frames a second, but the idea of being in these raids where there were 40 or 30, I think it was 40 in mob. There were 40 people.
It was huge.
And like all these spell effects and stuff going off like this.
Yeah. Yo, yeah.
Like it was so exciting to me because like the biggest group I'd ever been in was a dungeon. And it was thrilling, and that's where my real love affair with WoW started, was doing LFR with you in a log cabin in like Kent or wherever it was.
Oh, it wasn't in the New Forest.
Yeah, it was in the New Forest. You're right, yeah.
It was, so good. I have to say that you've just reminded me of like the one thing that I have on my NA account, which I don't have on this one, which I don't know how to get. I don't think it's gettable anymore, but it was my recruit a friend. Recruit a lover,
recruit a husband.
Recruit a husband reward, and it was the Heart of the Nightwing mount, which is the one that turns you into like the black cat with the wings. And
you're on trading post next year, don't worry.
I hope so, because there was just no way to get it, and that was my favorite one. And leaving that behind on my NA account, I was like, no.
For people just listening to this on their favorite podcasting service, there's so many sex jokes in the chat right now. It's actually disgusting.
Oh,
I'm actually disgusting with you guys.
How dare you?
But very aroused. So thanks for that. It was amazing. Like, and that, that led to me eventually buying my first like shoebox PC, like gaming PC, specifically to play WoW. And I remember going in, like Warlords of Draenor LFR was out by then, and I remember just jumping into all, and I got into flex raiding in MOP as well, which was like essentially normal but flex. And you had to go onto a website to organize that. There were websites which would kind of, because the group finder wasn't there at the time, so you'd have to go onto a website and find a flex group to join, and it was really organized and stuff like that. And that's when I realized how shit I was at the game. But and I ended up buying my first gaming PC. Nice. In name only. But I remember logging into Warlords LFR and suddenly it was running at like 25 frames per second. And like the silky smooth spell effects and stuff going on. It was like, wow, amazing. And that's when I started taking it more seriously. And that's when I had that PC, I was like, I'm going to have to start an EU account so that I can play proper raiding.
Yeah, and you did it first.
But led us to where we're sitting right now.
Exactly, and you did it first, and you found the guild. Like you joined the guild. And
it was like the third guild that I joined in a couple of months as well, because I kept joining guilds that I just didn't love.
Just didn't work. Yeah. And it was working, and you were really loving it, and I was like, oh, fine. It wasn't enough to make me play WoD. I have never played WoD.
No, I never have. But you love the music from WoD.
And so here's the thing, like, Everbloom is like in the rotation now. And I was like, I fucking love this. Like the music is incredible. Like the vibe is so good. And literally the only thing that stopped me from playing WoD, well, just because I don't know, apart from just not playing WoW for a bit, which happens. It was just like orcs on the cover, orcs everywhere. And I'm like, orcs aren't my thing. And so I think I'm going to give this one a pass.
Rico.
I say that now. Yeah, no, Rico, please. Yeah. I say that was how many years ago? Over 10 years ago. That, looking at it now, like if WoD would have come out now, I would be like, this is amazing. Like, this is incredible. I love this. More of this. And so like any tastes I get of WoD, so yes, I'm really glad I didn't have to live through it when it happened.
It was super fun because I ran with you in that Everbloom group, and you didn't know the mechanics or anything.
Because I literally never done it.
I was able to talk you through the bosses, and it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It was super fun.
Yeah, but I said now I'm like, yes, this is good. I'm gonna go back and like, absolutely gonna just bop my way through WoD stuff because it's great. And like Urel, my God, like just such a you know what? And also some of the best music ever.
Music's
like WoW
incredible.
music ever.
So good.
Anyway.
You used to share it with your driving instructor.
I used to have this thing. God, again, like I downloaded the soundtrack to WoD, and for whatever reason, it downloaded as one track. This is like pre-Spotify days, right? And I had it downloaded, and I put it onto my phone. and just to have it there because I just love listening to it. And so for whatever reason, like whenever I would plug it in somewhere, say I did it once on an Uber, you know, which again, something I would never do again. Plug my phone into an Uber.
Can you imagine?
Like,
naive.
These are different times, right? Like these were really, really different times. And so I remember it happened with that, and it happened with my driving instructor. And he's like, "Do you want to put some music on?" Yeah, and I plugged on my phone, and then it just auto plays the only track that I have downloaded, which is literally the entire WoD soundtrack. It's like, yeah, I got it on LimeWire. Yeah, exactly. Like I downloaded it as one giant MP3.
wait. So wait, did it start with the opening music?
Yeah. Start. Yeah, WoD. It's the WoD like opening.
Yeah, totally. The OST sound.
No, do the login stream.
Okay.
Music.
I've got a feeling it would start with that, right?
Yeah.
But let me.
Brace yourself, guys.
This might get a bit loud for you guys. Sorry. Let's. I need to pull up my OBS so I can see what's going on here. Okay, I think this is gonna work. Let's go.
Okay.
Okay, so basically what happens is you're like, okay, Evitel, are you ready to start your driving lesson? Great. If you could just double check the mirrors then, please, and just look behind and make sure, I can't drive, so I don't know what it is they say, but check your mirrors and then take off the handbrake and then just ease on the throttle and let's just start going down this road here. Yeah, right you are. Did it make you drive faster?
No, but it just it's terrifying.
It's so intense, the WoD one as
so
well. Right?
Hardcore. Exactly. I mean, it's like, and you know.
Yeah, I hope that I hope that the War Within has like a suitably intense like soundtrack.
I hope it does. Yeah.
I remember like all of the like garrison music and stuff as well. And WoD is so intense. And coming after Mr. Pandaria, it was all spiky and savage and like it felt really good those first few weeks of WoD. In fairness, felt
so
awesome.
Good. So, man. So yeah, despite not actually playing through WoD, I have like huge love for WoD related stuff.
Okay, this was a big tangent even for us, but the reason why I started telling this story was because
there was a reason.
Because those very fond memories that I have of playing LFR with you in the log cabin, you know, were my first introduction to, and you know, I am the perfect example of someone that was recruited into higher level raiding and a greater love for the game, and you know, much higher level play purely through LFR. And if it hadn't been for LFR, I probably never would have got into it to that degree, and certainly wouldn't be raiding now, I don't think. So I'm a huge advocate of LFR, and I will fight anyone who says that it takes players away from higher level raiding. Like I can, in my experience, it was the opposite, and I'm sure it is for a lot of other people as well. And you know, that leads us on to the idea of a higher level play and talk about our item levels and things like that, because now I'm just bopping 20s for fun, man. I don't know what I've got to do to get like a 3000 rating. My rating is like 2600 and something now. I guess I'm gonna have to, my aim for this week is to get all the dungeons done on 20 for fortified. I'm still planning on just pugging it, but I think I have to do at least a few 22s to get up to 3000, but I don't know how many 22s I'm going to have to do. But like I'm hoping to pug those as well, honestly.
I'm excited
and
for
if I can get up to 3000 rating from pugging, and it will be purely from pugging as well, then I mean, it says a lot about, I think, gear acquisition in this expansion, but also like, I feel the game is just in a place right now where people do enjoy Dragonflight and people are generally happy with the game, and that has a knock-on effect where people are just less toxic and more welcoming and happier to kind of just do stuff. And yeah, when the content's a little bit easier, that helps as well. And it does, I still want that hard content to be there, but I feel like it has made the game a much nicer place to be. If it is easier, and I think it is, then one of the effects of that is that it has made the game much nicer.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. I'm with you on that one.
The big thing that helped detoxify WoW, honestly, was when everyone left in Shadowlands.
Yeah,
like that was a huge one. It was like, that when the huge exodus happened in Shadowlands, it was like, this is bad and the game is bad, but also like the game world is much nicer now.
Yeah.
to a certain extent. So, but
Absolutely.
that and like I like it when the game is better, like in Dragonflight, and it's still nice. So that's good. But the reason I wanted to talk about that Evitel was I wanted to talk about the other. Sorry, that was such a long tangent, which was not planned. But I like a bit of Taliesin Evitel lore. I like getting that out there and talking about that. But something I did want to talk about as well, which is something that people have started talking about almost overnight, even though it's been like around for about a month now. I've seen a lot of people just starting to make content about it and discuss it in earnest because people are just starting to notice it because it's appeared on the actual launcher.
Right.
There's a new boost on the store, Evie. And I think this is the boost that comes with the pre-order for War Within, but it's now being sold individually on the store as well.
Okay.
And it's this. It is the get back into the action when you would purchase the enhanced level 70 boost. And jump into Dragonflight Endgame Ready.
Endgame Ready?
Yeah, so this isn't just any old boost. This is the enhanced boost. What doth thou knowest about this,
so
milady?
All right, Withers.
Would you like to take part in raid
Wouldst thou
content?
like to enjoy?
Wouldst thou like a coffer of 424 apparel?
Right, so it's 424, which is the minimum you need to get into LFR, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so endgame ready is what they say that they mean LFR ready. Okay, so is this the one that literally comes with the game?
Well, this is. I believe this is the same boost that you get for pre-purchasing the War Within.
So I used a boost on because it was there, and I saw it and I clicked on it on my hunter because I was not ready for season 3 at all.
No,
and
I'd been playing Evoker, hadn't you?
Yeah, and I just hadn't actually just like geared up or leveled up. Actually, I hadn't leveled up. That was the thing. I was something at like 67 or 68. Just had a couple levels to go, but I saw the boost there, and I was like, obviously I'm going to use this. Obviously I'm going to use this right now. And I was very delighted to feel like quite boosted. I was like, oh, wow, very boosted. Like, I'm still extremely weak in world content. Like, things are still hurting me. My damage is minimal, but I've got, 424 blue set of gear. Great. I've got like 20 renown with the major like factions, which is incredible, which unlocked a ton of stuff for me. And I was like, perfect. And that felt really good as a starting point.
I guess the difference is that you had already done that on a different character.
Exactly.
Like, so for it wasn't out of nowhere necessarily. What you were doing was you were getting your boosted character up to the level or thereabouts that your up until that point main was already at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I guess the idea is that you don't actually, for lots of people that wouldn't be the case, and that you would be going from basically nothing to like from level 1 to being kind of at end game with a vengeance basically in 10.2.
Yeah.
So you get, just to be clear,
what comes with it? Let's run through this.
You get started with some 424 gear. You get 20 renown levels, 12 with the Niffin. You get 4 sharded cloth bags, which are 30 slots. You get all the dragon riding mounts. You get except the dream thingy, the
fairy drake,
which you get straight away just for questing anyway. All your flight paths, all the kind of stuff you'd expect. Really, 5,000 Dragon Isle supplies. So this is better than most of my alts at the moment, who are kind of sitting waiting for me to start playing on 10.2.
Yeah.
And the thing I would say is that I don't know how I feel about this. How do you feel about it?
I mean, it makes sense.
Speaking of someone who used it.
Yeah, I literally used it. And I do remember feeling like not unpowerful. Like I remember feeling like, yeah, sure, I have a long way to go, but I felt like I wasn't handicapped because I hadn't played on this alt, like, and you know, in other boosts, you know, again, you get them to accumulate when you buy the games, right? And then you're like, why don't I try boosting this, you know, Shadow Priest, see what happens, because I've got one, might as well use it. And you still feel you feel pretty weak, and you don't feel particularly powerful. Like, I felt good, and I felt surprisingly good on my hunter, and it just allowed me to just pick up on quests and stuff, and
it allowed you to pick up into 10.2, but again, you'd already done everything leading up to 10.2.
I have,
but just on a different character.
So this makes sense to me as in this stage of the expansion, with it being out for, you know, over a year, and it's been over a year, hasn't it? So we, you know, and with what, a year to go left on it, it makes sense that it's there, but it does feel like super powerful, I think.
Yeah.
It feels like more than I would expect, particularly if you're going into it to use it to just boost a character that, you know, say you haven't played any Dragonflight, and you just boost, and then you go, and then you're in it. On the one hand, that's really convenient, and it means you can just access like kind of endgame story content, raid, work your way up. Cool. But also, for people who've been like leveling up alts, like, you know, studiously, I feel quite bad, because this is it makes it really, really easy. And I don't know, at the end of the day, to be quite honest with you, whether I think of this as a good thing or maybe a bit of a bad thing.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I can't even think of anything really bad or meaningful about it. I just don't like it. And I wish I could eloquate it a bit better, but I can't, honestly. And this idea that, yeah, obviously it's great for players coming back if they just want to like go into endgame content. It's a part of, like, the game is based mostly around endgame content, and I get it. For me, it's like, it's pointlessly powerful, because, like I say, I've got all these alts, right? And okay, so they are at kind of a lot of the time LFR or normal level from last patch, which isn't, you know, what someone like, I think I get the feeling this boost is aimed at people that have skipped a couple of patches or something, or maybe didn't play Dragonflight at all, and fair enough. But, you know, whenever I go onto one of those characters, they're often around 405, you know, something like that. And I go in and I pick up my Emerald Dream quest. I skip all the Niffin stuff because I didn't do it on most of them.
Right, yeah.
And I go straight into Emerald Dream. And, you know, I can get them to 430 and into LFR within a reset, within a few hours play, you know. And so... and I don't know if that's an argument for or against the boost, because it's like, well, you know, the argument for it in terms of the boost would be like, well, it's so easy to do that anyway. And then the argument against would be like, so, okay, yeah, so why do we need the boost? Like, if it's that easy, why do you need the boost?
Well,
right?
Exactly. So it's kind of negligible, like, either way.
Guess,
like,
I
getting,
just don't
you know,
like it. And I can't even say, like, you know what? I think it's probably a net good for the game, you know, because, yeah, it will encourage people to come back. And, you know, nothing is stopping you playing through the content if you want to, right? Like, someone who wants to come back and play through the content, you know, would have come back without the boost. The boost will only bring back people who wouldn't have come back without the boost. Does that make sense? So if we're talking about like the health of the game, someone who would have come back you know, and isn't interested in the boost, well, they come back anyway. You know, and only people that would only come back because of the boost are going to come back because of the boost. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. The question is like, who is the boost for?
Yeah,
like, who's it meant for? And I can, but also like, here's another question: how much is it?
Okay, it's quite expensive. let me bring up my my actual BattleNet, because I think I've got it on there. Yeah, so it's £49, which is probably like $50, $60, right?
How much is the expansion?
So that's for one character boost.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much?
For two character boosters, it's £82. Okay. I think the expansion is like 50 quid. So like this is but I think you only get the boost with like the £60 version of the expansion or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's about $1,000 Australian dollars. Yeah. So It's not cheap by any means.
That's
like
super
it's
expensive.
obviously a money spinner, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, like if it encourages people to come back to the game and enjoy themselves. But here's the thing, and something we've been getting a lot of reports on from the community, because we have a community, they talk to us and stuff like that, is that when players do come back to the game, this is all very well and good, but so many people find it so overwhelming. Because what happens if you come back, what happens if you haven't played Dragonflight and you use this boost, okay? You haven't had any of the introductory stuff to the dragon riding. You haven't had any of the story. Like, they're sending you into the Emerald Dream, but not only are they sending you into the Emerald Dream, you've got these shield quests everywhere when you go to Valdrakken. That, like, some are telling you to go to the Emerald Dream. Some are telling you to go to Aeon's Fringe and talk to Bob the bartender. Some are telling you to go up and talk to Kalagos to go on this blue dragon quest line.
Yeah.
Some are telling you to go down to Zaralek Caverns. And there's one telling you to go to the Emerald Dream. And it's like, what am I supposed to do
Which
here?
one first?
Yeah, exactly.
The only
And,
reason I knew what to do is because I played through that stuff before.
Exactly.
I know. I was like, oh, okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think I would be more in favor of the boost if it was easier for players to voluntarily play the content that is there. So what I would like to see is, I would like to see when you boost, or when you even just hit max level, after leveling through Dragonflight, suddenly all these quests pop that are sending you to Zaralek and to the Emerald Dream, and like you've got 3 major patches of content that just all suddenly pops for you all at once. I want to see a box pop up. I want to see it go, right, okay, well done, you're at max level. Now we're halfway through this expansion. Do you want to play through the story content? In which case we will drip feed it to you in order, or do you just want to get into like the relevant end game for this patch?
Right.
And I would like to see players be able to make a choice. And because I think a lot would be like, yeah, take me through the story content for a few hours.
Or let me
do
the most
that.
relevant story content.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
not
exactly,
all of it.
totally.
Right?
But at least tell me which order it is supposed to come in. Because at the moment, like, how is someone supposed to know whether they're supposed to go into Zaralek or Aeon's
No
Fringe,
idea.
or like what order that is supposed to come in?
Yeah.
Like, I would like it if they had a choice. It's like, yeah, please give me some idea what order this stuff comes in, or let me just choose to go to the current content, and in that case, hide all that other shit from me for now, or make it as a different color or something, or I think that would be a really, really good change, and that would make me much more in favor of the boost. So people know what they're skipping, people know what they're missing, and it makes it easier for them to play that if they want. The
only thing about the boost, which like I found quite shocking, was the renown, because I did minimal renown. Like I just didn't bother with it. So like I did what I had to do, and then I didn't really grind it because I wasn't interested in like building up my power then, and I was just kind of going through the story and stuff.
Yeah.
So seeing suddenly my character being at like max renown, well, not max, but 20 renown with loads of these factions, like I actually felt like a bit of a cheat. Like it just, not necessarily in a bad way, but it felt like, oh wow, because whatever, like you say, you can grind for gear and you can get through it like pretty quickly. You can level yourself, gear yourself up quite quickly. But renown, like, is hard.
Yeah.
And that takes time. Like, it's not hard, it's just time consuming. It does take a lot of time to get up with all of those factions. So I was quite shocked at that, happily so. But that's the one thing where I'm like, oh wow, that makes me understand why some people would be a bit salty, because they're like, hey, I spent a really long time grinding for renown for everyone. And now what, you can just buy it, you can just bypass all of that. So that felt like a bit of a that's where I wobbled a little bit about it, because I'm like, oh, actually that felt a little too easy.
I get it, but then the thing is though, and this is something I always try and ask myself, like, how does it affect me? Because I am the player you're talking about, right? I did go out and get all my renown, and I enjoyed it. It's like the content of the game, right? So that was my gameplay. I went out and I did it. And the idea that someone can just come in and boost it, it doesn't really affect me. I don't actually care.
No, at
I
this
don't like
stage-
it, like I just said.
Yeah.
But I don't like it more from kind of like some vague moral anti-capitalist
not like,
reason.
I deserve it
just
and you
feels like a
don't.
greedy game company.
worked
to me.
for it and you
but
didn't,
not-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't come from like
No.
an entire. I don't come from like that. I have earned this sort of thing.
And
Like
you
that's not
didn't,
where
yeah.
my dislike of
No.
it really comes. I don't
No,
actually
no.
care. It doesn't affect me in the slightest. And I can also accept that. I don't think it is a pure greed thing from Blizz. Only because, now don't get me wrong, when they took the idea to Bobby or whoever like actually signs off on these things,
He's
I
like,
bet they were rubbing their hands with glee and being like, "Oh yeah, no, load me up. I thought you never asked. Yeah, obviously enhanced boost, do it." And obviously, like money is a major factor in it, but also it is a fine line because there is this thing where. Well, we do want players to feel like they can come back and get into like the relevant content, and we feel like the fact that they can't without an enhanced boost is kind of a barrier to people coming back and entry and stuff like that. And I'm sure that is a genuine consideration. That's not me standing them. That's not me shilling them. Like I genuinely think that is a genuine reason to have this boost. So it is a fine line. I still don't like it, but I can still appreciate like that it probably is helping more people come back to the game, which I think is good because I think the game is good. And I think if they do come back to the game, if they do just need that little nudge to come back in, I think they're going to enjoy it. Like I say, I think it's massively overwhelming for players to come. I think the game is failing them coming back at the moment. I'm probably going to make a video about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I think it's really hard to come back. So in that sense, I think it's great that you can. Like, is it a lot of money? Yeah. Is it also like halfway through this expansion? And is this just a good way to get back into the game? Whether you're starting up new or whether you just want to boost an alt all the way, whether you're really behind in renown, sure. Like, fine.
Well, I don't think it is a good way of getting back in the game, but I don't think that's the boost's fault. I think the problem with getting back into the game is other things, like I just said, and I think if those things were sorted, then the boost would be fine, honestly. And like it is greedy, of course it is. Like if they really cared that much, they'd give it away for free. If they really thought it was good for the game, they'd be like, we're just doing this because it's good for the game. So if you've been away for a year, you get this free boost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So exactly. They're not being altruistic about it. It is a money thing. It is greedy. I'm not saying anyone who's saying it's greedy is wrong. I agree with you. But it can be greedy and have a knock-on good effect on the game as well. And I think that's probably the case here. I still don't like it. People hate it. People are making angry content about it. It's funny because like obviously this has been around for a month with the collector's edition, but again I think people are more accepting of this kind of thing with the collector's edition than they are for just buying individually. Now you can buy it for all your characters individually, discounted for bulk buying. Then I think it's more of an issue, and I can understand people's distaste for it, and I feel the same without even really being able to eloquate why I dislike it. Even being able to accept that in many ways it's good, I dislike it. And it's not because I've worked hard. Like I don't care about that. I did the content. I enjoyed it. I lose nothing from this. It's fine, honestly. But I am going to make a video about how I think the returning player experience, not the new player experience, that's a whole different issue. But the returning player experience, if you were coming back because you'd heard Dragonflight was fun and you wanted to experience it, I think the game really lets you down. And I'd love to make a video about that in the new year, I think is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Maybe I'll make that my pre-New Year one. I don't know. I think I could whip it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I've got basically 6 days to make a video before we go away, so and get it approved. So yeah, okay, 5 days. I reckon I could do it. I'll give it a weekend. Yeah, getting Chinese tonight, right?
We are.
That'll spur me on. Yeah, totally. Awesome. Okay, well, before we wrap up, let's have a look at some of these super chats.
Oh yes, please.
That we had throughout the episode and answer some questions. The nanobiologist, thank you for the super chat. I just love the term super chat. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. I was thinking about what you said last podcast and what the Titans are. What if the Titans are like the old gods of a greater order arcane power? Yeah, Nano, I absolutely think that, honestly. Like, you think about, we were talking about like this last episode, the idea that the Titans, yeah, they're supposedly from like the Order reality or cosmos or whatever, but they're not born in the Order reality, are they? They're born in our reality, which seems a bit weird for beings of Order. And yeah, I'd say they have much more in common with the old gods, who also, don't really exist in the Shadow Realm, really. They exist in they are like the thing from the Shadow Realm that exists in our reality, right? Whereas Void Gods and Void Lords and stuff are the things that actually live in the Void Realm, and they send the old gods to us. And Titans seem to have much more in common with old gods in that respect, relative to their own cosmos, than whatever is actually. And it makes me wonder who actually lives in the Order arcane cosmos, right? If they're as different from the Titans as Void Gods are from old gods, then I'd really like to see them and what they're all about. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I definitely think that is, at the moment, I'm feeling like the Titans are kind of the old god equivalent, of the Order universe, in that they exist in our universe and they kind of represent Order in our reality, but they don't actually live in the Order cosmos. It's weird. They're much more like old gods, I think. Rico says, hey Tally, hey Evie, happy to catch you here today. Hope you're doing and feeling well these days. All the better to have you here, Rico, as well.
Cheers, Rico.
Cheers, love to you all. What do you think will be the raid team plan for the rest of Dragonflight? Oh, do you mean Immortalis?
Yeah.
Well, we came third in the Race to World First for Guild.
Well done, congratulations.
And like I say, the raid has finished quicker than we'd usually expect, which isn't great for us as a team, but we did dip our feet into we killed Firak and then went off straight into Mythic. We had
nice.
like 20 people in the group, so
sweet.
And that was super fun, like really enjoyable.
You did the first two bosses in Mythic?
No, just the first boss.
Just first one.
Yeah.
Did you get them down?
Killed him last pull of the night.
Nice.
Very nice.
Okay,
yeah.
A little bit of Mythic,
so I'd love to like do some
progression.
vague progression on that. Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'd really enjoy that. So we got another couple of weeks of just re-clearing now. So everyone who wants to get curve can, just if they missed it when we did it and things like that. And also, there's loads of gear still to be getting from Heroic. Another thing of going through the raid so quickly is no one's got all the gear that they want yet. We've only, there's some bosses I've only killed once or twice in that entire raid. It was wild. And yeah, of course, being a healer, I don't get any of the gear. So we'll be running it for a little bit yet. And then dipping into Mythic, and there'll be like normal raids going probably forever, honestly, until next season.
To be fair, the normal raids dropped off for the last patch.
Did they?
Like really, yeah, they kind of finished up. People lost steam for those as well. So
I guess it's just easier to. It's like these days, it's easier to get alts heroic ready.
Yeah.
So they can
well, that's the thing. It's now turning into a heroic.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Thing
Awesome.
as well. Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's
well, I
really
mean,
cool.
normal and then heroic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One for you, Evie.
Yeah.
Zidong asks, off topic, do you think Sylvanas will be back next X-Pack?
No.
Really? You don't?
Like,
I feel like Sylvanas has got to be earmarked for a midnight return. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So not next X pack.
No,
Next X pack.
Like midnight is set in Keldanas. Yeah. It's her old stomping ground.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The Void are attacking. Who knows what position Valeria is going to be in at that point?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. Like I'd expect her to pop back then.
Exactly, and like we're getting Anduin back. Like, and this is not a thing about their conflict, right?
No,
like this expansion is not about their conflict. It's clearly something else. So it wouldn't make sense to bring her back now. But I'm with you on a midnight return.
Yeah,
for
to make
her
sense,
for a cameo.
And when she does come back, I personally can't see it being as a mainline regular character again.
No.
It's like a cameo thing.
No, she's learned her lesson,
Big
right?
cameo.
Like she's got she's got a slap on the wrist.
And then she'll be like,
she's
well,
repented.
Back to picking up swords for me.
Back to just doing my
Thanks
thing.
for letting me out for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think she's always going to be there because you can't ever kill her. You can never get rid of her.
Well, I don't
formally.
think they're allowed.
No, I actually don't think
that's what we've heard from
yeah,
our
exactly.
sources,
Like you
yeah.
literally cannot. They're like intellectual properties that you cannot get rid of. I'm sure because
I can't remember who we heard that off. It was a really, really good inside source who were like, literally not allowed to kill Sylvanas.
Yeah,
And that was one of the things with BFA,
yeah.
right? Was like, that story was started clearly with the express aim of killing Sylvanas. That was her villain and death arc. And there are many people that think that would probably be the right way to go. And at some point they were literally just sat down and gone, you can't kill Sylvanas.
No, you can't do it.
She's too valuable to the property.
So she's there. She's off to the side. She's doing her thing, keeping her head up, grinding away quietly off in the distance.
Yeah, and she'll pop back for cameos every now and then. Midnight would seem to be the perfect opportunity for that.
It seems just about right, yeah. Right.
Melithian says, no question, just appreciate you two and hope you're having a wonderful time. Also, happy holidays and great new year. We're going to have such a great holiday. I can't wait. Oh my God. Like, Annie is at the age now where he can properly appreciate presents we buy him. And Christmas presents and stuff like that.
And he knows what he wants.
Oh my God.
He knows very specifically what he wants. And
we got a package from Babcia via Poland.
Yeah.
Full of presents yesterday.
Oh, full of and
Mario
candy
Kart cards
and sweets and just and the way he appreciates things now gets more and more sophisticated, obviously. With Penny, you give her literally like a set of like plastic cups and she was like, wow. And her face just lit up and she was like, cups.
And Annie was like, no, Penny, no, you don't hold them like that.
Yeah, he's like, no. This is how you do it. But he gave her Princess Peach.
No
way.
He
did. He gave her Princess
dude.
Peach.
He loves Princess Peach as well.
He does, yeah. And he was like,
I think if
you
Princess
can have
Peach was
that
on a
one,
motorbike
Penny.
like in the movie, he would not have given it.
It would be different. It'd be a different story. But yeah, no, thank you. It's going to be a great holiday.
And same to you, Melithian. Happy New Year and Winter Veil and all that. Curative Writer and Josh with two very linked questions here. Just split it into 3 sets, day, night, and a changing one. Just give options. This is about the Warden set, of course, and that is. I should have read these questions in different order actually, because Josh says, "What is your thoughts on the Warden set changing colors?" Well, we discussed it at length in this podcast, which unexpectedly I was expecting this to be a short one today, but we are now pushing 2 hours of this podcast. So TLDR seems dumb, doesn't it? Seems.
Just listen to the first hour of the podcast.
Seems ridiculous. Why would you do that? The color change thing is awesome. Color change thing is very cool. Keep that. No one's saying get rid of the color change set, but also have it just a green set and a silver set as well. Obviously. And just as Curative Writer says, split it into 3 sets, day, night, and a changing one. Give the players the options. Something that Dragonflight has done very well in its new philosophy. You remember when the game all went to shit in Shadowlands, and then they turned around and went, let's just give players what they actually want.
Literally give you what
have
you
been
want.
doing that since 10.2.5 or 1.5, and the game's been all the better for it. And Dragonflight does that so well. So why aren't they doing it with this set, Evitel? Why?
Oh wait, I was so Tally. I was so chill at the end of this podcast. I got into my chill zone again, and now you're making me think about this again.
I'll help you back into your chill zone. Don't worry, all is well. This will be our last podcast for the year as well. We still will have one main channel video coming out before the end of the year, and I'm going to try and stream a fair bit on Twitch leading up to our Christmas break as well, or let's go a New Year's break, because it does go
Holiday
over New Year.
break,
When are we coming back from New Year?
The 4th, I think.
So
we'll be back in the new year.
I'd expect a regular T&E service to start up again on the first week, late in the first week of the new year. But because I'll be streaming a bit on Twitch, please come and join us there. Please watch our second channel, which will have highlights of Twitch streams and stuff, and any interesting conversations we have there, which often work as little sounding boards for what later become mainline videos, main channel videos. So always an interesting place to be. And if you haven't seen the new weekly reset, please watch that. And you can find this podcast on all of your podcast listening places like Amazon Music and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you are listening to it on one of those services right now, don't forget you can watch the video version of this on our main YouTube channel, Taliesin Evitel. And you can watch that recorded live when we do it on a Thursday afternoon at 1 or 2 p.m. British time.
Thing.
But we'll always schedule it, so you'll always know when it's
You'll
happening.
see.
Wow, I think that's everything.
Yeah,
anything
that's
else you
really
wanted to say for the end of the year?
Just follow our Instagram, usual. Sorry. Listen, once we get to 10K on there, I can share really in-depth stories with links on them.
Yeah, but I think you're gonna have to like put some posts on there for
I have been posting.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have not been keeping track.
Exactly.
I thought that was basically. I thought you hadn't updated it for like 3 weeks.
No, of course I'm updating it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
brilliant.
I'm
Well,
keeping
in
the
that
ball
case, I take it all back. This is me eating my words.
Please do not make that sound on the microphone. Yeah, and just wanted to say thank you guys for an brilliant year together here on YouTube and on Twitch and on our podcast and at BlizzCon.
Oh my goodness! Well, okay. So another thing. Obviously, a lot of you are patrons as well, and obviously we'll be doing a Patreon video before the end of the year as well. So that's the real last video we're going to make for the year.
Good stuff.
Is for you guys. Goes without saying. Sorry, which is why I didn't say it, but I probably should say it. So there we are. Yeah, all coming your way, patrons. Absolutely looking forward to that one. Proper update, proper chat with you guys. Be fantastic.
Yeah.
And of course, for people who aren't patrons, this isn't the last you're going to hear of Evitel this year. No. The last you'll hear of Evitel this year will be her doing the sponsors message on the next video on the main channel. So always worth waiting for.
Look forward to that one.
I find. Yeah, totally. So anyway, thank you to everyone who's been following us and supporting us and chilling out with us and chatting with us this year. It's been amazing. It was wonderful to meet so many of you at BlizzCon. From me, Taliesin.
And me, Evitel.
Until, well, I don't want to say next year because we've got more videos and stuff coming. But from the podcast, until next year, cheerio.
Bye.
That is the end of the podcast.